Black Marine told to leave Sun's graduation. Then 6 SEALs revealed an amazing act of unity. David stood outside the high school, feelings torn. Today marked Malik's graduation, a day he had fought so hard to see, yet here he was, denied entry in his uniform. The school deemed it was too family-friendly for a Marine to attend a ceremony honoring his son. The words struck him like bullets. He felt the weight of injustice pressing down on him like the heavy pack he wore in combat. He had sacrificed everything for this moment, for Malik to see his father proud, for him to shine. Now, all he felt was shame. His chest tightened as he looked at the sea of black caps and gowns fluttering with subdued excitement inside the auditorium. Memories swelled within him. Late nights hustling through multiple jobs. The smell of his wife's cooking wafting through their home, their laughter dancing in the air. Each sacrifice made was another battle won, inching towards this moment. As he stood there, the scoffs of affluent parents echoed in his mind, the insidious whisperings of privilege and bias that clouded this celebration. Just as he leaned against the school's brick wall, despair wrapping around him like a vice, 6 decorated Navy SEALs appeared. Dressed in crisp uniforms, they exuded a power that stirred something deep within David. It wasn't just camaraderie killing his sorrow, it was brotherhood in action. The SEALs he had fought alongside were here to stand with him. Their march towards the entrance was a force of nature. Together, they represented an unwavering commitment to the values worth fighting for: honor, respect, family. Inside the auditorium, murmurs spread like wildfire. Faces shifted from excitement to reflection, the atmosphere crackling with tension as alumni and parents processed the sight unfolding outside. David's heart raced as he witnessed the unity of fellow warriors. Families began to realize this moment transcended graduation. It was about community, integrity, and demanding a voice. The clatter of chairs and hushed conversations filled the air as people stood up in solidarity. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Emotions swirled around the gathering. Applause morphed into outrage, igniting connections among families witnessing the injustice unfold. David's heart pulsed with a mix of pride for Malik and anger at how far they still had to go. As the graduates poured out of the auditorium, Malik emerged, searching through the crowd. Their eyes locked, and a wave of love and trepidation swept through David. He longed to wrap his arms around his son, to tell him they were not alone, that unity was blossoming all around them. With the SEALs standing strong, David felt the tide turning. Yet doubt lingered on the air. What would this moment mean for his family? Would it ripple into something more significant? As the spirit of justice sparked conversations about inequality, David stood firm, knowing that together they could pave a new path forward. The shadows of division lingered, but hope flickered, urging them all to believe that unity could triumph. And in that moment, with Malik searching for him, the chapter of their story was just beginning. David's eyes were fixed on Malik as the crowd drifted apart, and the realization set in deep within him. His son was not just dressed in his cap and gown, he was wearing a diploma that represented years of struggle, resilience, and now, clarity. It was a monumental achievement, yet David stood apart, feeling like a ghost lingering at a celebration not meant for him. The palpable joy radiating from the graduate struck a chord within his heart. Malik's expression flickered from joy to confusion when he finally spotted his father. David could see the wheels turning in his son's mind. His boy might be proud, but he was also grappling with the reality that his father, a proud Marine, had been pushed aside. The moment hung heavily between them, and David fought against the urge to shout out, to bridge the gap that had formed. Instead, he stood tall, hoping his strength would seep through the distance. Suddenly, Malik started pushing through the crowd, eager to reach him. David's throat constricted as he watched his son, a whirlwind of emotions rolling in waves. As Malik approached, their embrace was electric. The summer heat faded into the background as father and son locked in a moment that felt like it transcended reality. Time paused, and around them, the bustling crowd faded. "What are you doing here, Dad?" Malik's voice trembled as he pulled back, searching David's eyes for answers, for a sense of safety amidst the chaos. "I wouldn't miss it for the world, son." "I'm proud of you," David said, trying to keep his voice steady despite the mixture of joy and sorrow swirling within him. "But what happened? Why didn't you just go in?" Malik asked, frustration creeping into his tone. David took a deep breath. "They didn't want me there, Malik. They thought I wasn't family-friendly enough." The weight of those words hung in the air, and David saw the rage burning in his son's eyes. Malik was on the verge of protesting, ready to defend his father's honor. Just then, the 6 Navy SEALs, symbols of unity, maneuvered back towards them. The pride in their eyes reflected David's own, giving him a renewed sense of purpose. One stepped forward, speaking with conviction. "This isn't just about him," the SEAL gestured at David. "This is about every single parent, every sacrifice made by those who serve our country. It's about every child who deserves a proud moment with their family." Malik's jaw clenched tightly, taking in the fervor surrounding him. "It's not fair, Dad," he exclaimed, glancing at the SEALs and then back to his father. "You deserve to be recognized for everything you've done." "And I will be, because we are not alone," David replied, feeling the tide of emotions sharpen into resolve. He turned to the SEALs, gratitude coursing through him. "Thank you for being here. I won't forget this." The moment dripped with possibility, with the stirring sense that this was just the beginning. Families nearby stood in tense silence, listening, absorbing the energy that radiated from their impromptu gathering. Lurking beneath the surface was an undeniable change, a call for accountability and awareness. As David released Malik from the embrace, he felt that flicker of hope reignite. They weren't just fighting for their dignity as a family. They were standing up for all those who had ever been sidelined or minimized. The momentum was shifting. Malik's determined look pierced through the crowd. "Let us make noise, Dad." His resolve mirrored the unity pulsating through the gathered warriors. As people leaned in, whispering the first inkling of their shared outrage, a sense of empowerment swept through the air. In that moment, a decision crystallized within David. They would not let this moment fade. Together, they would harness the power of the collective, turning the tide of their silence into an anthem for justice. But as the atmosphere shifted from despair to determination, David couldn't shake the question brewing in the back of his mind. Would this moment be enough to spark lasting change? Would those entrenched in privilege listen, or would they continue to turn a blind eye? As the crowd began to murmur and move, the story had just ignited a new chapter, and one question loomed larger than ever: what would they do next? As the crowd buzzed with energy, David felt his pulse quicken. The realization that they were on the precipice of something bigger filled him with a heady mix of excitement and trepidation. People were shifting closer, their faces filled with curiosity, anger, determination, each emotion firing like kindling tossed onto a growing blaze. Malik turned to his father, determination etched across his brow. "What if we started a petition? Something formal, you know. Get everyone involved. We can't let this slide. This is too important." His voice rang out, fueled by the conviction of youth and the weight of their shared experience. David nodded, pride swelling in his chest. "That's a great idea, Malik. But we might need more than just a piece of paper. We need to be visible, loud, make sure everyone sees us." The SEALs stood alongside them, their camaraderie an unshakable fortress. One of the men, a stocky figure with an easy smile, leaned in. "You're right. And we can help. It's not just about you two, this is bigger than just one family. It's about breaking barriers for all veterans who've been denied their place. Malik's eyes lit up with a fresh wave of inspiration. What if we organized a public event? A rally or a forum? We could invite other veterans, families, anyone who feels like they've had the door slammed in their face. Let us amplify our voices. The words were charged with potential, and David felt gratitude toward the SEALs wash over him. This was how change happened, through determination and community, weaving new connections among those who had once felt isolated. Love it. Let us talk logistics. What do we need? Nearby parents and graduates caught wind of their discussion, intrigued faces turning toward the trio. Conversations ignited everywhere, murmurs of support rippling through the crowd. People started gathering closer, forming a circle around David, Malik, and the SEALs, eager to contribute their thoughts, their energy. Hey! We should get everyone on social media. A woman in a bright yellow dress exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. We can create a hashtag, something like Voices of Valor. David watched as ideas bounced from one person to another, igniting an electric charge that coursed through the crowd. This is it. Malik shouted. This is what we needed, Dad. For the next hour, voices blended together, the crowd brainstorming and crafting a plan. David felt the struggle of his own past slowly melt away, replaced by the exhilarating promise of action. He could see change taking form right in front of him, a delicate yet sturdy web of human connections multiplied. Yet, despite the burgeoning hope, a shadow flickered at the edge of his mind. What if we fail? He thought. Would their voices be ignored, drowned in the noise of indifference? The doubts crept in, sinuous and persuasive. Malik caught his father's strained expression and squeezed his arm. Don't worry, Dad. We're not alone. Look at this. Fear transformed into courage before David's eyes as he surveyed the gathering throng. A wave of people stood by them, not just supporters, but advocates for change. Just then, a crackling voice over a loudspeaker echoed across the field, slicing through the burgeoning energy. Excuse me. Can we have everyone's attention, please? The crowd quieted, anticipation thickening the air. David's heart raced. Who could it be? He turned to Malik, who mirrored his anxiousness. The rallying point was forming, but the next few moments could reshape their vision for change or send everything crashing down. David held his breath, his heart pounding against his ribs. What revelation would emerge next? Would it be a call for unity, or a challenge they hadn't prepared for? And in that suspenseful moment, as the crowd waited breathlessly, an unexpected voice rose, the kind that could tip the scales of their destiny. As the crowd hushed, David squinted toward the stage. A figure stood up there, a silhouette against the sun. The voice amplified through the speaker, but it wasn't the familiar warmth of a local leader. No, it was deeper, more commanding, laden with the weight of experience. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Major General Williams, and I want to talk to you about something that's been on my mind for a long time. David exchanged a quick glance with Malik. Excitement mixed with uncertainty swirled inside him. What was the general going to say about their cause? The general continued, his voice steady and compelling. I've been proud to serve this community and our country for over 30 years. But I stand before you today with a heavy heart. He paused and scanned the crowd, drawing them in. David felt the anticipation shift to concern. What kind of story could possibly tether their hopes and fears? I recently learned about a family that faced an unjust act, a family just like yours. He gestured toward Malik and David, recognizing the moment. The proud father and son who should be celebrating a milestone, not fighting against prejudice and discrimination. The crowd reacted, murmurs turned into gasps and then into an uproar of support. We're all warriors in different ways, he said, ready to stand against injustice. No one should have to fight this battle alone. Malik's face brightened, and David felt his heart swell. A surge of hope replaced doubt. This was a pivotal moment, and the general was speaking the truth. Unity. The word rolled through the crowd like wildfire, igniting drive and courage. General Williams continued, "Today, I ask each of you to consider your role. Each of us has the power to make a difference. Let us support Malik and David, not just for their family, but as a community united. Let us stand for all those who have served this great nation and been overlooked, turned away, silenced." As he finished, cheers erupted. The SEALs stepped forward, fists raised, embodying the spirit of resilience that rippled through the crowd. David felt the solidarity wrap around him like a warm embrace. "Justice isn't a gift, it's a right," Malik shouted, leading a chant that quickly caught on. "Justice isn't a gift, it's a right." With every repetition, more voices joined, swelling in number and unwavering resolve. Their slogan filled the air, echoing against the trees and buildings. Amidst the rallying cry, David couldn't contain a joyful grin. But as the excitement surged, reality hit. What would happen next? Would their voices reach the people in power? Would their plea for fairness ripple beyond this moment? In the middle of the chants, a flash of worry crossed Malik's face. "Dad, what if they still don't listen? What if this dies out? We need to ensure the momentum doesn't fade." Before David could respond, the general stepped back up, his presence commanding. "And I propose we take this beyond today," he declared. "Let us march together on the Capitol, let our voices be heard farther than ever before. Let us make history." The crowd was electrified, their boisterous cheers igniting like a sizzling firework. But as David stood beside his son, applause fading into a hushed breath, he searched for his own answer. What kind of risks would they face? With every beat of his heart, he felt the burden of potential failure, but an even greater beacon of hope illuminated the path ahead. Malik's hand squeezed his shoulder tighter, urging him forward. Would this rally solidify their mission into something bigger? Or would unforeseen challenges lay ahead, threatening to extinguish the flame of change before it could take hold? As the crowd moved toward their next step, David knew the journey was only beginning. The energy in the air crackled with anticipation as the crowd began to shift. David felt it too, the magnitude of the moment. Somewhere, deep inside, he believed they could do this. They were on the cusp of something monumental, but how to keep that fire burning? Malik tugged at his sleeve, a gesture filled with equal parts urgency and excitement. "We have to connect with them, Dad. The general, he's right. We need everyone behind us. Every single voice." David nodded, his eyes scanning the crowd that was already buzzing with conversations. Names and faces he recognized, neighbors, friends, people they had grew up with, now transformed into comrades. "Let us gather everyone. We need to make a plan," he replied, a soft but fierce determination coloring his words. They squeezed their way through the throng. Voices mingled, laughter bounced, but there were also whispers of fear and doubt. David could feel Malik's tension. What if they start to lose interest? What if they walk away? Every revolution starts small, David reminded him. Remember what the general said, no one fights alone. They paused to watch as a group of SEALs gathered in front of the stage, their camaraderie electrifying. David caught snippets of conversation, plans forming to reach out to more people. The vision of marching to the Capitol became not only a banner but a lifeline. "We can hand out flyers, start a petition," Malik suggested, his eyes brightening. "If we can get the local businesses involved, maybe even get them to sponsor the march." His words came out in a rush, each idea feeding the other. David felt a swell of pride. His son was growing, stepping into the role of a leader. "That's the spirit," he said, squeezing Malik's shoulder. "Gather a few of your friends. I'll talk to the SEALs." They moved on again, weaving through the laughter and support blossoming around them. David approached the SEALs, who were exchanging ideas with nearby crowd members. As he stepped closer, they turned to him, arms crossed and expressions steadfast. "General Williams has made it clear. We're all in this together, right?" David's voice rang strong with resolve. "We need every resource we can get. Local businesses, schools. This needs to be broad, loud, united. One of the SEALs, a tall man with graying hair, nodded emphatically. You're right. We'll reach out to the businesses, we have their support. This isn't just about Malik. It goes beyond that. We must rally for everyone who has felt this kind of injustice. Suddenly, a voice boomed from behind them. And what's a march without a proper rally? It was General Williams again, returning to the center of the crowd. With your permission, I can help coordinate. We'll arrange speeches, music, everything to keep the spirit alive. The crowd erupted into cheers again. David found himself grinning widely, feeling the pulse of hope rush through him. If the general was on their side, they might have a fighting chance. But still, lurking at the back of his mind was a whisper of doubt. What if they built this momentum only to hit a wall? Would their newfound hope dissipate with time? As Malik mingled with his friends, David looked out over the crowd, a sea of determined faces he had always known, now resolute and galvanized. They could do this. Together. He could feel the tide of change starting to shift, but the road ahead was tangled with uncertainties. Behind him, the cheers maintained their strength, but David felt an ache in his chest. The fight was far from over. Settled in the depths of his heart was a question that wouldn't let him go: how much longer would this light shine before it flickered out? Each heartbeat echoed with purpose, but time was ticking. With every passing moment, they needed to move. The crowd was growing, but so was the risk of losing that which they fought for. Would their courage be enough to steer them through the darkness that lay ahead? And as David turned back to the crowd, he understood this wasn't merely a march, it was a chance to reclaim not just their voices, but their stories and their place in history. Would they stand together, or was this just the beginning of a much harder battle? The crowd surged forward like a swift river, vibrant and alive. David felt the energy swirl around him, lifting his spirits. It was exhilarating yet intimidating. They were doing it, they were growing. Each face reflected a mix of determination, hope, and the flickering fear of failure. With unwavering resolve, he took it all in. Malik was back, his friends flocking at his side, chattering excitedly about plans. Dad, we can create social media events. Share our stories. Make it personal. People need to feel this. His enthusiasm was contagious, a small fire that could light a larger blaze. David nodded, his heart swelling with admiration. That's perfect, Malik. Let us brainstorm together. Every voice matters. The sound of a drumbeat began to pulse in the distance, resonating through the crowd, a rallying call that felt like it was beckoning everyone to action. As Daniel stood beside his son, he scanned the crowd, ensuring they were ready to move from thoughts to action. He spotted Mrs. Sanchez, the proud owner of the local bakery, holding up a sign that read, "I stand with you." Just beside her, Mr. Johnson, their old high school principal, was nodding enthusiastically at the unfolding progress. David felt a wave of gratitude wash over him, knowing alliances were forming, people were joining in. General Williams took up a vantage point on stage, amplifying his voice. This isn't just a march, it's a declaration. A collective voice that refuses to be silenced. We gather not just for ourselves, but for those who have come before us and those who will come after. His words echoed like a drumbeat, igniting a wave of cheers. David's heart raced. This was the moment, the very essence of what they all stood for, woven through each coherent shout. Each cheer let him know they wouldn't back down. Yet, questions began to swirl again in his mind. Would they sustain this? Could they really shift the tides? Malik's voice broke through his thoughts. Dad. We need to get that large banner up. It'll set the tone. Right, let us make that happen. David replied, his panic momentarily subsided by the infectious energy of the moment. They rushed over to where volunteers were setting up the banner. Leave a space for everyone's signatures. We want it personal. Malik shouted as they secured it in place. With each new name that adorned the fabric, David felt a sense of ownership, as if every signature was a promise. As the afternoon sun began to dip, casting long shadows, an unexpected silence settled over the crowd. They all turned their gaze toward the stage where General Williams stood pensively. "I don't want to gloss over the challenges ahead," he stated, his voice steady. "Our fight will be met with obstacles. Fear can easily turn us away, make us second guess." David held his breath, waiting for the general to continue, heart pounding against his chest. "But what we have, what we've created here, this community, this unity can conquer those fears." The crowd erupted into a chorus of affirmations, each cheer louder than the last, wrapping around David like a warm embrace. But as the cheers cooled, an undercurrent of hesitation traveled through him again. What if the world outside didn't see it the way they did? Just as he felt the pull of doubt, he heard Malik shout as he pointed toward the entrance of the park. "Look! More people are coming." David turned to see a stream of newcomers joining them, eyes bright, smiles wide, one more layer to the vibrant tapestry they were weaving together. As the crowd welcomed the new arrivals, Malik's touch lingered on David's arm. "We're on the right path, Dad, I can feel it." With that declaration, David felt a flicker of hope turn into a blaze. But in his gut, he couldn't shake the nagging uncertainty. Were they truly prepared for the fight? A thought loomed heavy in the back of his mind. Just then, a voice cut through the excitement, sharp and clear, a woman's shout from the edge of the crowd. "What happens if we don't succeed?" The air chilled. All eyes turned toward her, waiting for an answer. David's heart raced once more. He knew this was the moment they needed to face together, one he couldn't ignore. Would they find the courage to confront that question? Or would fear pull them apart right when they needed each other the most? David felt the weight of the woman's question settle over the crowd like a heavy fog. It lingered in the air, echoing through their hearts and minds. Faces shifted from determination to anxious contemplation. He could see the worry etched in the expressions of his neighbors was also etched in his own. The general stepped forward, eyes locking on the woman, his gaze steady and reassuring. "We will succeed," he declared. "But success doesn't always look like we expect it to. Sometimes, it's about the fight itself, the journey we take together." A murmur rose from the crowd, lingering somewhere between doubt and hope. David swallowed hard, desperately searching for words that could solidify what they all yearned to believe. He raised his hand, trying to capture their focus. "We have come together today, and that is a victory in itself. We'll face setbacks, yes, but we aren't alone. We are a family now. A community." His words began to ripple through the gathered masses, hearts beginning to lift a little. Malik looked up at his father, the admiration shining in his eyes, and David felt a wave of warmth wash over him. This was what they had fought for. But even as voices began to lift again, his insides churned. What if they encountered real, tangible failings? What if the very people they were fighting for lost faith? What if their movement faded like whispers in the wind? Just then, another voice broke through the rising tide of sound. "What are we supposed to do with that fear?" A man with a battered baseball cap stepped forward, his tone laced with urgency. "How do we push back against what's waiting for us outside?" The crowd fell silent once more, each face painted with a flicker of anxiety. David felt his heart beat as the tension built, it was almost palpable. "Fear can be a liar," General Williams responded slowly, "and if we allow it to claim our hearts, it will steal our light. But here, today, we shine together. We're not just advocating for one cause, we are making our voices heard about unity." A cheer escaped from the crowd, a collective breath released, but David could sense the urgency for concrete action on the horizon. Malik suddenly grinned, sparking an idea. "Let us make a plan. Let us group together, pair up, and talk to people who didn't come today. Let's share why this matters. We need to connect our stories to theirs." David felt a jolt of inspiration at his son's words. This was it, the next step. Yes. Malik is right. We'll write down our stories, our experiences, and create an event. Let us hit social media hard. Show them what this moment really means. As the crowd erupted into excitement, volunteers sprang into action, gathering the tools they needed to punch their message louder and clearer. David felt reinvigorated, visions of impact swirling in his mind. Still, he couldn't shake the weight of the woman's question from earlier. As the sun dipped closer to the horizon, casting a warm golden hue across their intertwined faces, he couldn't help but glance back at the edge of the current of humanity standing resolutely alongside them. Just then, the roar of an engine shattered the moment the sound of motorcycles. A group of bikers, clad in leather jackets, rolled into the park, stopping nearby. Their presence was unexpected and electrifying, but as they stepped off their bikes, silence swept the crowd once again. The tension was back, but this time it was laced with curiosity. What message would these newcomers bring? Could they alter the tide once more in this fragile moment they had painstakingly created? David held his breath, waiting for the answer that would determine the next chapter of their fight. As the bikers dismounted, their leather jackets glistening in the fading sunlight, David felt an electric current run through the crowd. He could see the weariness in some faces but also a spark of hope kindling amongst the throng. The lead biker, a woman with fierce green eyes and tattoos that danced like flames up her arms, stepped forward. "Hey there, folks," she called out, her voice booming and confident. "We heard there was something powerful happening here today. Turns out, we're not all that different." She gestured to her crew, a mix of men and women, each bearing stories stenciled into their expressions. An old man with a weathered face nodded his approval, and a couple of younger bikers held up signs they made, "United we stand" and "Voices for change." David felt a rush of warmth, a shared understanding blossoming in the park. The presence of these outsiders was not a disruption, they were allies. "What are your stories?" David called out, his voice growing stronger, inviting. "What brings you here?" The woman grinned, her confidence magnetic. "We've been here. We know the struggle. Some of us have had our own battles, in the streets, in our lives sometimes, the system doesn't work for us, too. We've learned that when we unite, we find strength." He could hear murmurs of agreement ripple through the crowd. The general stepped to David's side, brimming with pride. "It's not just about us anymore, it's about everyone who feels silenced." With newfound momentum, the bikers shared their experiences, stories of hard times leading to resilience. As each tale unfolded, the weight of fear in David's heart lightened bit by bit. People began to nod along, emotions flowing freely. Then, a familiar voice called out from the back. It was Melissa, a mother who had felt the sting of adversity herself. "We should join forces. Display our unity. Imagine if we all joined together our voices as one." Excitement sped through the crowd like wildfire. They started to form teams, people exchanging names and ideas, dreaming up ways to collaborate. David felt a pang of disbelief. This was the spark they needed, the connection they all sought. Malik beamed at his father as if seeing a great victory emerge. "What if we organized a march? Show everyone what we stand for." His eyes sparkled with possibility. The sound of powerful engines revved to life grabbed David's attention. Pleasure and apprehension intertwined in his chest as he saw the bikers circle the gathering. "Let us ride together," the woman shouted, her excitement infectious. "We'll draw attention. Let folks know we mean business." David couldn't help it struck a chord deep within him. Time and time again, people felt scattered and divided. But here, in this moment, they were piecing something beautiful together. A shining thread of hope stitched through their shared stories and struggles was a growing sense of belonging. But just as plans flourished in the air, someone else's voice pierced through the joy. "What if they turn us away? What if they don't want to hear our truth?" It was that same worried man from earlier, his face shadowing with doubt. David felt his heart tighten again as the specter of fear loomed overhead. That's the risk we take," he said, raising his voice. "But letting fear win is a far greater loss. We owe it to ourselves, our families, and to those who came before us to show up, to demand to be seen. That's why we're here, to show them our strength." A chorus of agreement rose up like a tidal wave, and David held on tight to the energy pulsing around him. But as night fell, slivers of uncertainty hung in the air, lurking in the corners of their communal spirit. Just as the crowd began to chant and rally in fervor, David caught a flash of headlights approaching fast. Was it friends or foes? His heart raced, unsure of what revelation awaited them next. What would this new wave bring to their fight? And could it be their unity would face its ultimate test? David's heart pounded in his chest as the headlights drew closer, illuminating the park in a harsh white glare. He squinted, desperately searching for signs of intent in the silhouettes forming against the bright backdrop. The crowd's enthusiastic chants began to waver, uncertainty creeping in like a shadow. "Everyone stay calm," David shouted, though his own pulse raced. The energy he'd felt moments before seemed fragile now, threatened by the unknown hovering on the horizon. He moved to the front, determined to shield this newfound bond from whatever challenge was about to appear. The headlights extinguished, and the rumble of engines faded to an eerie silence, the crowd shifting nervously. A low murmur threaded through the crowd, a collective breath held, as the bikers halted their circling formation. David stepped forward, locking eyes with the fierce biker who had taken charge. "What's the plan? Do we engage?" She nodded, her expression unreadable but resolute. "We stand our ground. If they want to know us or challenge us, we show them who we are." Just then, 4 figures emerged from the darkness, helmets tucked under their arms. Sunset splashed across their uniforms navy blue, badges gleaming revealing that they were not the adversaries everyone had feared, but active-duty Navy SEALs. The crowd gasped, exchanging glances of confusion and hope. David's mind raced. How did these elite warriors end up here? What did they want? As if sensing his unspoken thoughts, one of the SEALs stepped forward, a stoic look on his face softened by a hint of a smile. "Hey folks," the man said, his voice steady and commanding. "We were riding past when we heard the commotion. Thought it might be a good time to stop by." The initial wariness began to dissipate as he continued. "We're here to support. We see what you're doing, and we stand with you." David felt a wave of relief wash over him. The fear slowly evaporated as hope rushed back in, filling the void temporarily carved by anxiety. And then he heard Malik's voice, bubbling with excitement. "Are you serious? You want to join our march?" The SEAL nodded, glancing at his comrades, who all exchanged affirming looks. "Absolutely. We believe in unity and service. You're fighting for your voices to be heard, and we understand that struggle. We may come from different worlds, but our mission aligns. Strength in numbers, right?" David couldn't help but smile, the tightening in his heart lessening with each word. The bikers and the SEALs stood together now, an odd but powerful alliance taking shape right in front of him. The crowd mirrored this blossoming connection as excitement surged back to life. Suddenly, a voice cut through the tension once again, but this time it was filled with a new kind of inquiry. It was Melissa, raising her hand with a curious yet serious expression. "Why now? What made you stop here tonight?" The SEAL exchanged glances, as if weighing the vulnerability of sharing personal truths. The lead spoke up, a genuine openness shining in his eyes. "I have a son. He's around Malik's age. I want him to grow up in a world where he knows he can speak his mind without fear. That's why we're here." David's heart swelled, and he could sense the crowd connecting with this simple yet profound truth. This moment wasn't just about marching anymore, it was about the kind of world they wanted to leave behind. As the crowd erupted into cheers, the intricate web of support grew stronger. But in the middle of the rising enthusiasm, David suddenly felt the sharp edge of worry slicing through him once again. Would their collective resolve be enough to withstand what lay ahead? And what fate awaited them on the path they now dared to tread together? The night had just begun, and the winds of change howled ominously, carrying whispers of both challenge and unity. What would tomorrow bring? As the cheers and clamor filled the park, David's heart steadied. The SEALs and bikers had forged a powerful alliance, a symbol of unity that resonated throughout the crowd. Yet, shadows of doubt still hung low, urging them forward into the unknown. "Let us get organized," Malik shouted, reigniting the collective spirit. "We can't just stand here, we need to map out our rally, spread the word." David watched as his son took on the role of a leader, rallying friends, volunteers, and newcomers alike. People began to split into smaller groups, discussing logistics, ideas, and strategies, their collective energy igniting like a flame. The general stepped back up to the podium, his expression steady. "This is our chance, this is where it begins. It's not just about the march, it's about speaking out, being heard, and demanding change." Every nod and cheer that responded only reinforced that conviction. David felt the swell of unity wash over him, yet the nagging question still echoed in his mind: how far could their voices carry? "Let us make it something memorable," one of the bikers suggested, thumping a fist against his palm. "We could have banners, music, all of it. Let us show them who we are." David felt alive in that moment, swept up in the momentum. As plans unfolded around him, he saw these individuals, strangers just hours ago, now transformed into a community among each other. It was incredible. A woman from the crowd called out, "Let us set a date. A day where we can all stand up together." David's heart soared. Yes. We need to give ourselves time to prepare to make sure everyone can join. Malik hopped up, delight illuminating his youthful features. "How about a month from today? That gives us time to spread the word and ensure it's a big turnout." He watched as heads nodded, people jotting down dates on notes or entering it into phones. David felt that tightly wound anxiety loosening its grip. The movement was gaining life, but uncertainty still lurked at the edges. And then, just as excitement peaked, the voice of their earlier observer, the anxious man with the hat, broke back into the conversation. "But will it matter? What if we still face pushback?" The general's gaze softened at the question. "We will likely face challenges. Change doesn't come easy. But every voice matters, and every person who shows up is a statement. The more we grow, the louder we can shout." The rallying sentiment buoyed the crowd once more, shaking off the remnants of trepidation. Voices rose, suggestions flowed, and plans solidified, transforming into an unstoppable force. David embraced the moment he knew was crucial, a time to net thoughts that were once on the fringes, consolidating purpose, feeding the desire for action. "We will share our stories. Each of us has a reason to be here, let our personal experiences shape our purpose." Malik chimed, "The more we lift each other, the stronger we'll grow." Each story shared is an invitation for others to join. David watched as Malik rallied volunteers to collect stories from attendees, gathering them like precious treasures to compile into something tangible, something that would echo through their march. "Use social media, let us amplify everything. Create a video of personal testimonies. Show the proud families, the veterans, the sacrifices. We want everyone to see our fight, to feel close to it," a woman shouted from the group. Amidst the fervor, dread danced in David's chest, whispering doubts about challenging the status quo. Could they weather the storm ahead? Yet as he looked around, he saw faces transformed by hope and determination. The SEALs had elevated their cause, offering not just their support, but their willingness to fight alongside them. The bikers, two people who were once living life on the fringes, now joined in solidarity for a common purpose. As Malik and a couple of others began recording their stories, David waved the crowd closer again, wanting them all to feel connected. "We haven't just come here to march, we've come here to transform," he proclaimed, voice steady and resonant. "Now each of us must pledge that we will not let fear hold us back. We stand together, not only for ourselves but for everyone who has faced exclusion. As murmurs surged through the crowd, David took a moment to absorb this beautiful concoction of humanity gathered before him. Thousands of voices together could create a symphony of change, and they were here to orchestrate it. The evening sun began to retreat, painted hues of orange and purple illuminating the sky and illuminating backdrop that encapsulated their journey ahead. Feeling emboldened, David declared, "Tomorrow, let us gather again. The work has just begun, but together, we will rise." And as energy crackled in the air, a wave of resolute cheers erupted once more, powerful, unwavering, a promise to hold the line against indifference and injustice. The future was uncertain, yet here and now, David felt the pull of hope, vibrant and strong. They were no longer alone, and for the first time, he found himself believing. But still, one question remained: would they be able to rise together despite the challenges that lay ahead? Would their collective voices break through barriers? The dawn of that next day shimmered with possibility. The true battle was still to come. This was no longer just a moment, this was the beginning of a revolution. Now, if you want to be a part of this incredible journey, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for this inspiring movement. Comment below to share your thoughts and feelings about this transformation, and let us keep the conversation alive. And most importantly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this spark of change. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.